third YouTube channel brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. In this video, I will show you how to make the sliced apple scrubby. As you know, I really enjoy using the Red Heart Scrubby yarn to make a multitude of dishcloths. And I think it is so much fun when I'm able to make a dishcloth that resembles something fun, especially a slice of apple. How fun is this? What I need you to do is go ahead and download the pattern. It's free over on the Red Heart website. You'll find a link to it right over there in the video description box below. And while you're down there, go ahead and smash that like button, as my kids say. Once you have the pattern, you can go ahead and gather your materials and follow along with me, or you could continue on watching this video just to see how the sliced apple is made and then tackle the pattern on your own. It is completely your choice. Now, go ahead, get the pattern and follow along with me, at least with the pattern in hand, and we'll get started. As I mentioned, the sliced apple scrubby is made using Red Heart Scrubby yarn, which is great for dishcloths. It is a lot of fun to make, and it really hides a multitude of sins. So if you happen to make a mistake somewhere in the middle of your project, it doesn't ever really show. But for purposes of this video, I'm going to use Red Heart with Love yarn. So that way the stitches really show up and you can see where you're supposed to do your increases for this particular pattern. So let's go ahead and dive in. To start our scrubby, we will place a slip knot directly onto our hook and then chain 7 chains. I am using a size J or a 6mm hook today, so that way you can really see how the stitches look right here on the video. I am just chaining along 7 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will now place 3 half double crochets in the second chain from hook. Remember, I never count the loop that's on my hook. So I skip 1 and there's my second chain. I will go in and I will create a total of, see here, 3 half double crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now I continue on and I'm going to put a single crochet in the next 4 chains. I'm sorry, not a single crochet, a half double. So I'll put a half double in the next 4 chains. 3, and so that I have 1 more. That leaves me with 1 more chain here for this row on this side. So I will place 3 half double crochets in this last chain. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And you'll notice at this point the corners tend to want to curl in on me, which is perfect because we want those to curl in, because what we are going to do now is rotate our work around, and working along the bottom edge of that foundation row, we will do half double crochets. So we will skip the first loop right here on the bottom edge where we put those 3 half doubles. We'll go to the next one. We'll go into it and we'll place a half double. Go to the next one and place a half double. And then the next one. And the next. Now I will join with the slip stitch to the first half double crochet I completed. And you can see here, I have created an oval. So this is how we will create our apple. We will create increases working around the oval of our piece until we get it to the size we want, and then we will work increases in the circular motion versus the oval. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. For round 2, you begin with a chain 2, and you'll see in the pattern it says that this chain 2 counts as a stitch. So I like to grab a stitch marker and I will place the stitch marker into the second chain from my hook, and that lets me know that that is where I'm going to join to finish off my round. Once I've placed my stitch marker there, I'm ready to carry on with the pattern. And it says to do a half double crochet in the same stitch as I joined in. So that stitch I did my slip stitch in right there, I will place another half double crochet right there. So that counts as an increase, right? Because I have my chain 2, which counts as a half double, and a half double right there, and they're both into the same stitch. Now I will go ahead and do 2 half double crochets in each of the next 2 stitches. So I will find where my next stitch is, and I will place 2 half double crochets in one of them, and then I have to do 2 half double crochets in the next one as well. We have now created an increase right here around this edge of the long oval of our apple. Now we're going to work along the straightaway. What we need to do now is do a half double crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we will only be placing 1 because we don't want any increase right here on this particular edge. So I'm making sure I have 4 half double crochets all worked on their lonesome. Now it's time to circle around and get around this edge. So we will do our increases yet again by doing 2 half double crochets into 1 stitch, and we'll do that 3 times. So that counts as 1 time, and I will place 2 into the next stitch, and that's 2 times, and I'll place 2 into the next stitch, and that gives me my increase right after the turn, just like so. Now it's time to work along the other straight edge, and we will do 4 half double crochets until we get to the end of the round. I will go ahead and work my half double crochet into each one of these stitches, and it's singular, so I'm only putting 1 into each one, and we will have a total of 4 because that's how many stitches we have left on that side of the oval. I've now reached the end of my round, and I need to join with the slip stitch into the second chain of my beginning chain. And because I marked it, I know exactly which chain that is. So I will place my hook directly into that chain right there. Now sometimes I find it difficult to get my hook in there with my stitch marker. So I will remove my stitch marker and then place my hook into that stitch, and I will join with the slip stitch. And so I have now completed the end of round 2, and I'm still with the oval. Time to start round 3. For round 3, once again, we begin with the chain 2, and remember that chain 2 counts as a stitch, so I will place my stitch marker into the second chain I completed. I will then do a half double crochet into that same chain that I joined to make the end of the round. So I will place a half double crochet right there. So that counts as an increase, right? Because I have 2 stitches into 1. I will put 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. So I go into the next stitch and I will place 2 half double crochets into that one. And then I carry on in the pattern, and it says to do a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and now I will place 2 half double crochets in each of the next 3 stitches. So for the next 3 stitches, each one is going to have an increase. So here is the first half double, here's the second half double of the first increase, here is the first half double and the second half double of the second increase. Here's the first half double and the second half double of my third increase. Once I've done that, I will half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So I'm working along the straightaway, but I'm only working along 3 stitches this time. So there is 1 and 2, and this is my third half double crochet. Let me get some more yarn here. Now I will place 2 half double crochets in the next 2 stitches. So I'm working an increase. So there's 2 half doubles into 1, so that was the first one. And now I'll place 2 half doubles into the next stitch. Just like so, and so that's the next increase. Now I will half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, just singular, so there's 1 and 2, and now I'll place 2 half double crochets together in the next 2 stitches. So it's working an increase again. So there's 1 and there is 2. That will leave me with 4 more stitches left of the round, where we will continue on with the instructions of placing a half double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So there was 1, there's 2, here's 3, and in our final stitch we will work 1 more increase. So I will place 2 half doubles into 1. I'm at the end of my round. I will join with the slip stitch to my marked stitch. As you saw before, it's hard for me to get in that stitch with my stitch marker, so I will take my marker out, put my hook in, go ahead and join with my slip stitch, and I have finished round 3 of my apple, and I'm still in the oval shape. What's really cool about the next couple rounds is we are going to deviate from the oval shape, and we are going to begin to do that apple slice a little bit more rounded. So we will have our increases at different points than what we have been doing all along, but it will make more sense, especially to those of you who have done increases or decreases on the top of the hat. We will be placing an increase and then working a few stitches evenly, and we will do that consistently around the entire round of the apple. For round 4, we begin with the chain 2 just like we've done before, and it counts as a half double crochet. We will start off by placing our half double crochet into the same stitch that we did the join. And now we will place a half double crochet all by itself into the next 4 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. You'll notice in the pattern at this point there is a star, and then it's followed by a set of instructions. That star is significant because it represents a point in the instructions that you will go back to and repeat from that particular point. So that is where we are. We will place 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. So this will be our increase. Then I will do a half double crochet all by itself into the next 4 stitches. So there we go, 1 more, and there's 4. If you lose count, all you need to do is go back and find where you did the 2 into 1 and then count your singular crochets from there. So I have 2 half doubles, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 half doubles. And now I will repeat from star. So if I go back to star, it says to put 2 half doubles into the next stitch. So there's 2 half doubles, and now I'll put a half double into each of the next 4 stitches. So there's 2, 3, and 4. I'm not to the end of my round yet, so I will repeat from star again. So I will place 2 increases into the next stitch, and then an increase in each of the next 4 stitches. I will repeat this all the way to the end of my round, and I will be left with 36 stitches completed. Let's find, let's see, there's my 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will start my second increase. And I will finish off with my 4, 3, and 4, and then I'm not quite to the end yet, so I have to do 1 more repeat. So I put an increase here, and then my 4 half doubles. On the last stitch, I will join with the slip stitch to my first chain 2, and you will notice now my oval is beginning to start taking a little bit of a circular shape versus just oval. The next 2 rounds will make this even more circular than oval. So for round 5, we begin with the chain 2 just like before. And what you will notice is we are going to be doing virtually the exact same row we did for row 4, only instead of having 4 half double crochets between our increases, we will now have 5. And then on round 6, we will have, instead of 5 stitches between our increases, we will have 7. So let's go ahead, get through round 6, and join me back here, and I will show you how to change colors for round 7. Your final round 6 should have your project looking a little something like this. Your apple slice is now a little less oval and a little bit more circular. At the end of round 6, the instructions say they want you to go ahead and fasten off your yarn. So you would cut your yarn, leaving at least 4 to 6 inches. You would yarn over your hook, pull through for joining your slip stitch, and then go ahead and chain and pull through, right? That would finish off your work. What I want to do is, because we're going to start the next round with a new color, I want to go ahead and I'm going to change my color at this point. So I'm at the point where I would normally just do my slip stitch. And I will grab my new color, which will be my color B, and I will go ahead and join my new color B at this point. So I yarned over with my new color and I pulled through, so I joined with a slip stitch. To get it started to where we need to be for our round 7 instructions, we would chain 1 and do a single crochet into this stitch. You see that? Now we can follow along with round 7 as written. So we started off with a single crochet, and now we will single crochet in the same stitch. Okay? And now we will put a single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So what we are doing is we are still working an increase round with our plain set of stitches in between each increase, although this time our increase is a set of 2 single crochets and our plain stitches are single crochets instead of half doubles. So just like before, I have 1, 2 single crochets, and now I want 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now the instructions have an asterisk, which lets us know it's our repeat. So we will put 2 singles and then we'll do 7 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2, and now we'll place our 7. And we'll do this all the way around our apple slice until we get to the end. At the end of this round, we will finish off our work, and it will be time to move on to the simple stem and then the leaf and embroidering our seeds to our apple. I'm to the end of my round, so I will go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the first single crochet, and I will finish off my work. So I chained 1. I will snip my yarn, at least leaving 4 to 6 inches, and then give it a nice pull. So at this point, I have the body of my apple slice ready to go. And the only thing left to complete is the really cute stem and the leaf, both of which are really easy to make. It's just a series of chains and then single crochets into the chains. So let me show you how to make the stem first, and then we will make the leaf. For the stem, we want to use our black yarn. Now hopefully you'll be able to see this well enough to know how the stitches are made. But we begin with a slip knot directly on our hook, and we will then go ahead and chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once you chain 6, you are then going to single crochet into all of these stitches all the way down, skipping the first one. So working into the second chain from the hook, we will place a single crochet. How simple is that? Then you go to the next chain and place a single crochet. Go to the next chain and place a single crochet. Pretty easy, right? This is so easy. You can do this in your sleep, just maybe not with black yarn. So I will do single crochets all the way down, and then you would finish off your work. So what I found really handy, you guys, is if you bring your apple in, because your apple should be complete at this point, pick where you want your stem to be. So I'm going to have my stem right here where I finished off my last one, because I feel like it's a good way to hide where all of that is going on there. So what I will do is I'm going to put my hook directly in to where I did the slip stitch, and I am going to slip stitch my stem right there. Now what I will do is I am going to go in to the top of my last single crochet I completed. So I'm just going through those stitches, okay? So I went through the top of it, and I'm going over 1 stitch on the body of my apple, and I am slip stitching, or I'm going to single crochet right there. And so what that has done as I finish off and cut is I have gone ahead and I've joined the stem to my apple without having to really sew it on. So all I need to do now is just weave in my ends, but I have the stem ready to go. You see how that works? So I have the stem ready to go. The only thing left now would be the leaf and then the 2 apple seeds. So the leaf is so simple. Let me show you how to make the leaf. You begin with a slip stitch directly onto your hook, a slip knot on your hook, and then you will chain 2. 1, 2. Into the second chain from hook, you will place 3 single crochets. So we will do 1 and 2 and 3. So we have 3 single crochets all into that 1 stitch. Now we are going to go ahead and turn our work. So you want to be very careful when you turn so you don't twist it. And then we will chain 1. We will place a single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochets in the second. So there's 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet in the last. So what we've done is we've increased into the center of those 3 stitches. We will turn our work once again. You want to be very careful when you turn so you don't accidentally twist it. We'll chain 1. We will single crochet in the first stitch, place 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then single crochet in the next stitch, just 1, and we'll place 2 in the following stitch. There's 1 and there's 2. So now we have 6 stitches. We turn our work once again, so turn our work, and then we will chain 1. We will single crochet in the first stitch and the second stitch. So we do it in the first 2 stitches. We'll put 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, and then we'll do 2 single crochets in the next one, and then we'll place a single crochet in each one of the next 2. So now we have a total of 8 stitches. The next 2 rows, we don't do any more increases. We simply do a single crochet in each one of those 8 stitches. So it's as easy as turning your work, chaining 1, and then just placing your single crochets all the way down the row. So that's what I'm going to do here. So this will be my row 5, and then we will turn our work, chain 1, and this will be my row 6. Again, there are no increases on row 6 at all. Once I get to the end of row 6, I will turn my work, and for row 7, we are actually going to work some decreases so that it shapes this leaf ever so slightly. So I will turn my work, chain 1, skip the first single crochet, I will single crochet in the next stitch, and now I will single crochet 2 together in do that 3 times. So I go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch over, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. Now I'll yarn over, draw through all 3. So that was once. Go to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. So that's 2. Go to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. So that finishes off my decrease. I'm left with 4 stitches total, and I go ahead and I fasten off. So I chain 1, cut my tail, leaving a nice long tail so that way I can use it to seam, and that is my leaf. Now, how I attach the leaf to my apple is totally up to you. You can add it. Let's bring in our apple here. Let's hide our ends. We can take the leaf and we can add it to our apple just like so, so that the leaf is kind of pointing in. We could add it to our apple like so, so it's pointing out. We could add it so that it's going down like that. We can do anything we want. And it's as easy as using our nice long tail here and just stitching it right into the edge of our work. So as you guys know, I like to use bent tip yarn needles whenever I'm weaving in my ends, and I will simply thread the tail of my leaf directly onto my needle, and I am just going to go through the apple itself, and then I'll come back up, grab a bit of the leaf, and then come back through the apple. Now, obviously, I am using a different yarn than the pattern calls for. Pattern calls for Red Heart Scrubby. So as you're doing this with Red Heart Scrubby, it's really going to be invisible because of all of the little nubbies that come off of the Scrubby itself. It is really awesome to be able to hide any sort of whip stitch, which will be even better. So for the With Love that I'm using today, it's going to show up a little bit more so than it will on your actual apple. So once that is sewn into place, you can go ahead and tuck in your ends. All right, so I'm just threading my tail, threading it down, and then I would thread this back on and go back this direction and give it a snip. And then the last thing I would do is weave in my tail up along this part. So then I have the really cute leaf portion of my apple. And as I mentioned before, you can make the apple go the opposite direction. So for this one, I wanted my apple to lean in, or my apple leaf to lean in. I thought it looked pretty cool. But it's as easy as just poking it back out like that to make it poke out. I thought that looked funny, so I like the way it pokes in. Now the last thing we need to do are these really simple embroidery bits for the seeds. And it really is so easy, you guys. Just take a length of the black yarn and using your bent tip needle just like before, go ahead and thread it onto your needle. Then working from the back of your work, so I'm working from the back of my apple, I will simply come up. I'm pulling the tail of my black yarn up a little bit, coming along this way and coming back down. So it's just a straight embroidery stitch. I'm coming back up and coming back down. You can do that as many times as you want. If you're using the Red Heart Scrubby, just a couple times will work great. If you are going to make your first one out of With Love, you might want to do it just a couple more times. And once you get the seed as big or as defined as you want it to be, you would flip your work over. Get these tails out of the way. Usually you would have all your tails tucked in at this point. It'd be easier to work into. And you would simply weave in these tails. And what I like to do is I will tuck them into the actual long stitch and just every little bit of the yarn itself just to weave in those ends into place. Just like so. So you could snip that off and then weave in that end. And as you pop this back over, we have a nice seed showing up right there. And we would place another one right over there. Once all of that is done, you have a super cute sliced apple scrubby. Now, working with the scrubby yarn is a little bit trickier than working with the With Love yarn, but you can do it. The easiest thing to do is as you're working along with the scrubby stitches, really use your fingertips and feel where the post of the stitch is and where the opening is, and that's where you will place your hook. And as you go along, that's the easiest way to make sure you have your hook placed in the correct place. Other than that, the way the sliced apple scrubby is made is identical to how we made the scrubby with the With Love. And so I did it this way just so you could see how the stitches are made a lot easier than being able to see it on here. But as you are using the scrubby yarn, once again, just use your fingertips to really feel where the stitches are as you go along, and you can see where you're going to put your hook as you start working along. I promise it all works out. The easiest thing to do is I just use my fingertips and I find where the post of the stitch is, and I know that the opening where I need to put my hook is right above that and a little bit to the left or to the right, whichever direction you happen to be knitting, whether you're right or left-handed. but it's really easy. So now you have everything you need to know for how to make the sliced apple scrubby. Hopefully you will run out and get yourself some scrubby yarn and make this wonderful pattern. If you do, please share with me over on Facebook. It's on the Marley Bird Facebook page. I'll put a link to it right down there in the video description below so you can find a direct link to that. And other than that, make sure you hit subscribe so that you're up to date whenever there's a new video released. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you again soon. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns.